So, when I reflect on this idea of how GTD can support remote working well-being, working remotely doesn't necessarily mean working from home, and working from home doesn't necessarily mean working from a home office. I have a client who is they're they have a new office space that they're building out, so he needs to work from home, which is also getting remodeled. And so, his definition of working remotely is just trying to find a space that his wife, his four daughters, and two dogs aren't currently occupying. And then there's kind of also this idea of workspace. Workspace has different definitions for different people. For some, it really is, workspace means office, like a traditional brick and mortar office. For others, workspace is a bag with a laptop or a tablet and, headphones and a good Wi-Fi connection. And that's it. So I think it's helpful to kind of, if you're someone who's working remotely, what's your definition of workspace, and what do you need in it to function highly? What are kind of the tools that you need, and what are the kind of what's part of your environment, or what I like to call kind of conditions that are conducive to working well remotely. I work remotely, and so I have an office for my kind of GTD work, which I'm in now. And I'm, for the most part, unless I'm traveling, I'm kind of what I like to call a cockpit person. Like, I like kind of my cockpit, right, which is my workspace, which has stuff in it that I access. And, there are tools in here that really, really support me in like being really productive. So, my stand-up desk, my printer, my kind of pen and paper, like there are things here in this space that, I don't have to think about. They're just kind of there for me and supporting me in, being really productive. Then there are things like conditions. So, if you've ever done the Cairo survey, you'll understand what I mean when I say I'm an active listener. So what that means is that my brain has this super acute receptivity to sound, external sound. So, you know, that's something I need to take into consideration. So when I'm going to do highly focused work, I'm not going to do it at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning, because I know that my neighbor's housekeeper is coming in for 2 hours. There's going to be lots of like banter back and forth and music playing and a vacuum cleaner. And, I love my neighbors, and like, that's what they're doing on Sunday morning, and there's nothing I can do about that. So I'm kind of careful about, like, that's not going to be my highly leveraged focus time. Now, having said that, noise canceling headphones, another fantastic tool, so that when I can't do anything about the sound in my, environment, noise canceling headphones are super, super helpful, because then I can screen it out. Now, as much as I say I'm a cockpit person, I have this kind of other, another part of my work world, which is traveling. So when I'm traveling, all of this is completely different. No stand-up desk. I have the canceling headphones, but, I don't have the printer. I work really well. I've learned, to function really highly in an airport, in a on an airplane, in a hotel room, and that definition of my workspace is so different. So, my invitation is to kind of think about what your definition of workspace is, and like give yourself permission to have maybe multiple iterations of that. And then, what are the tools that would really support, being in the productive state, any conditions that you need to factor in. And sometimes it's like the smallest little thing. I have a client recently where she was getting frustrated because she had a notebook, like, and she was taking notes, but she kept like leaving it somewhere, and she's kind of on the go a lot, and that was frustrating her. And so, you know, we kind of looked at that, and she has an iPad, and it's like, great, why don't you just use your iPad to take notes, which is always with you anyway. So sometimes, like, these little things that we kind of, I see sometimes people kind of endure, like suboptimal tools and conditions, and when we just allow ourselves to slow down and kind of just look closely at it, it's like it just needs a little tweaking and fine tuning. And then, you know, I'll kind of close this with one other aspect of it, which is that, if you're someone who's working remotely and your work is taking place in a space where you have kind of where multiple, like, you have multiple hats, so to speak. So you are working from your dining room table, and all of a sudden kids are home from school, and it's noisy, and there's all this activity, and now all of a sudden, you're shifting from, SVP to mom. So what do you need to do, given that space is not your workspace anymore, it's a dining room table? So what do you need to do to kind of close that up so that you can kind of shift into the other role, and not kind of be stuck between the two? One of the things I found for, a lot of people who were working in an office, that commute was kind of handling it. So they were like leaving an office, getting onto a train. There was that kind of bridge. So, what's your version of that when, you're not, the space is still the same, but the roles have shifted? I know for me, when I'm doing GTD focus work and I kind of decide that that's done for the day, I can't just back up 10 feet and go into my art studio and paint. Like, it's just not going to happen. So, I need kind of like a bridge, right? Like, even if it's just going for a walk, or sounds silly, like going to the supermarket, like texting a friend, something where I can just kind of like, kind of clear the screen, so to speak, so that then I'm like ready and, to go back into the studio. So just food for thought. Please feel free to leave a comment. I hope this helps.